Well, BHP, Rio Tinto supporting that area there, although Newcrest fell by 1.8%, and we've seen gold prices falling down to a one-month low. We saw another decrease of 0.2% in Asian trade after a fall in the US. And also in terms of sectors, we saw the utilities and the healthcare sectors outperforming. But altogether, a little bit of profit-taking going on the Australian share market today. We've seen the banks as well as telecom space have a pretty good run. So we saw a bit of profit-taking entering into those sectors, but altogether the market down by 0.3%.
Area, Julia, that you like QBE and by extension that insurance sector. We speak to Peter Asho reasonably regularly and often mentions QBE. He goes, look, any business whose business, if you like, is risks, something that you can't, is very hard, if you like, to price, natural events that you don't know are going to happen. He goes, that in itself has an inherent risk as an investment.
I think the general insurers are looking pretty good, and Insurance Australia Group's one insurer which has performed quite well in 2012. However, with QBE Insurance, I guess there's a number of things which have been dragging down its share price. One is a relatively high number of claims, but secondly, other investment returns. We've seen poor investment returns, poor profitability for QBE. And then thirdly, I think an important one and a key concern of the market is the strengthening in US reserve requirements, and that's a key reason why the market thinks there might be a need for a further capital raising, and that's something that erodes some profitability as well when your assets are tied up in those reserve requirements. So QBE Insurance, we did see a bit of a bounce back today, but I think those concerns will persist given those concerns by the market around the US reserve requirements and around the poor returns, the poor investment returns we've seen from this company in the past year.
Look, I wanted to also get your thoughts, Julia, not just on equities, the Aussie dollar, a lot of focus on it. One of a big move, obviously, off the back of those job numbers, about 104.6 against the US dollar at the moment. No matter what you throw at the Aussie, particularly a rate cut earlier this week, it's just remaining at these elevated levels.
James, it's just been an absolute incredible week for the Aussie dollar. Unbelievable strength in light of an interest rate cut and also some of the numbers coming through. If we have a look at the Aussie dollar in the last few trading sessions, this is what it looks like. And you can see just the strength that we've seen. If we have a look at the Aussie dollar just today, and if I show you an intraday graph, this is what it looks like. And you can see that after the job numbers came out, we saw the Aussie dollar jump. This is really about interest rate expectations at the moment. And the fact that we did see the unemployment rate falling down to 5.2%, and we actually saw the job numbers coming better than expected, have really decreased the market's expectations around rate cuts. And that's been a positive for the Aussie dollar, but a negative for the Australian share market. The Aussie dollar all throughout 2012 has been pretty strong. Overall, we've only seen a gain of 2.4%, but we've remained above parity. And in terms of stock performances, it doesn't really seem to have kept any stock performances, held back any stock performance of those companies which make revenue offshores. For example, News Corporation is up by 33% for the year. We're seeing CSL up by 67% for the year. ResMed is up by 58% for the year. Brambles up by 1.5%. We're seeing Amcor up by 10%, and James Hardie up by 35%. So these are all companies that do significant amount of business offshore, and yet they have performed relatively well. Where the impact has largely been felt is in the manufacturing businesses and also in the commodity-based businesses. We have seen slight commodity price rises this year. Copper's up by 6%. We've seen gold up by 8%, oil down by 11%. But some of those gains, those small gains, have really been eroded by that gain we've seen in the Aussie dollar. So the commodity space is still hard in Aussie dollar terms, but altogether the Aussie dollar amazingly resilient this week.